Hi there, welcome back to Key Insights from the Little School of Big Change. This is insight number 4. This is the final key insight that I'm going to do in this series, although, I don't know, I'm on here all the time sharing stuff, so nothing's final. But it's the final of the little key insights anyway. And insight number 4 is that you are habit-free, anxiety-free, worry-free, full of peace, full of joy, full of clarity. You have every single thing that you need, everything that you think you don't have, everything you're looking for and searching for is yours right this very minute. But you may not feel that. You probably don't feel that nearly enough. You don't feel it in many moments, and that's simply because you don't really know, none of us really know until we do, that that's the case. So as we start to see more about who and what we truly are, this insight pulls together the other 3 that we've talked about. As we come to really see more about who we are beyond that weather, who we are beyond what our brain is telling us, that machine we talked about in Insight 3, we see that we are so healthy and well, and our habits come up from within that, but they point back, ironically, oddly enough, our habits and our anxiety and our issues, they point back to the fact that we are so healthy and well that we get afraid and we get turned around and a little confused, and we start doing things, and then we think those things are what's making us feel like ourselves again, what's bringing us back home, but those things aren't. So when we take all of this together, what we really start to see is that there is no problem. You have everything you need now and always. You don't really have a habit or have anxiety or have depression. We don't own that stuff. We don't have it in any way. It's experience that moves through us. That in our innocent, turned aroundness around how all of this works, it moves through us and we think we have it. We think it's ours. We think it's meaningful and personal. And so we pay a lot of attention to it. Of course we do. If something's rolling through and it looks super meaningful and personal, you're going to pay attention to it. Of course you're going to pay attention to it. So we do. And then the cycle starts. So we pay more attention to it and more attention to it. It looks more and more like us. It looks more and more real and meaningful. We then have to find more and more ways to escape it or quiet it or pacify it. And in all of that, we end up with these problems that we think we have. I have anxiety. I overthink. I'm in my head. I have all these habits. But truthfully, we don't have any of that. It doesn't belong to you. It isn't you. It isn't yours. It's not who you are. It moves through you. And as you start to get a feel for that, just that, as you start to see, wow, what if I am full of health, full of peace, worry-free, all that great stuff I want to be, and my mind goes over here and paints this big, vivid image of things, and I think that's me. And I get confused and caught up in that and identified with that. That, I know this is crazy, but that literally is the only problem any of us has. And that's not even a problem because it's just a simple misidentification. We're identified mistakenly, innocently and mistakenly identified with our experience. So we think we have all this stuff and then it builds and then it grows and then we try to fix it, then it gets worse. And so all that happens, but it's just misidentification. None of that's you to begin with. And this may sound like just kind of a nice idea, but I tell you, as you start to see that more deeply, as people really come to see, oh, I'm the peace, this is the chaos and noise and up and down and moving all over experience, I'm over here, this is all that, it's incredible how the all that starts to look really different. Now it's still there, you're still human, you're still feeling a whole variety of stuff, but it starts to look and feel different. It doesn't feel like it's you so much. You get to kind of see it. You're not so in the middle of it. And from that place, there's like a neutrality around it all, a greater neutrality, a greater okayness with anything that's moving through. And when we aren't staring at what's moving through, saying, darn depression, darn anxiety, darn habit, why are you back? Why are you here? When we aren't doing that, it just kind of moves through. It moves through in a different way. We don't experience it the way we've been experiencing it. So it isn't about adding anything. You don't need to be fixed. You don't need to add anything. You don't really even need to change anything because you have everything you need. You are everything you need all the time. The only little tweak we're talking about is looking in the right direction. Rather than staring at this stuff that looks like a dangerous problem, and again, by stuff, I just mean our experience, and trying to fix it, we get to see that for what it is and get curious about what's beyond it. And see it for what it is and get curious about what's there when it moves through and who we really are and what's stable. Not what's always jumping around changing, but what's stable, what's consistent, what's the me, who's the me in here beyond all this psychology, all this stuff. And as we start to get a feel for that, we get grounded in that. We feel secure in that. It makes sense. It becomes more familiar. It becomes more like home. It is home and we know it, but we start to see it as home. And then all this noise over here just doesn't look like us so much in the same way. And you know what happens when that happens? This stuff comes and goes and it doesn't affect us in the same way. So I hope you can start to see how all four of these insights have really kind of been speaking to the same basic truth, the same basic understanding in slightly different ways with different ends and with different focus in each one, but we're just telling one very beautiful, very freeing, very, very simple, deceptively simple story here that everything's okay, you're okay, you aren't broken, and you have a lot of experience moving through you that is confusing and looks scary at times and is very uncomfortable at times. But largely because we don't fully understand it. We identify with it. We think it's us. We think it's meaningful. We get all wrapped up in it. Starting to let that clear out and see it for what it is, it changes everything. It changes everything. Everything gets easier and clearer. And you're still human and you have the stuff, but it just looks different. Habits and anxiety and all that stuff that literally lives on, like it lives on us thinking it's a thing and repeating it and going back to it, that starts to fall away. So you might feel anxious, you might have an urge or a habitual thought, but it isn't, I have anxiety, I have this habit. It's different. It's fluid and it's beautiful and it's available to all of us. So I really appreciate you listening to these insight videos. If you feel like you've gotten a little peek of something and you want to see a lot more, of course you can join the Little School of Big Change, which starts Monday, and it's still $49 off if you join before Sunday. But if you aren't ready for that, you just got a little peek and you want to see more about what the heck I'm talking about, there are two great ways to do that. There's a free 4-part video series that's playing right now. The link is here. It's at thechangeseries.com. You can go watch what I'm talking about here in a lot more depth. There are also, is going to be a webinar, free webinar that I'm doing. I'm actually doing two, but they're the same one. So just choose the time that's better. Totally free 90-minute webinar where I will go into this in more and more depth and detail. And the link is also there. There's one this coming Sunday evening, and there's one Monday afternoon. So I'd love for you to check out those resources, see this more deeply, just get what you can, get a feel for this as much as you can from all this stuff I've been putting out there. And see what lands with you, see what resonates and gets you curious. And if you want to see a lot more, I'd love to have you join us in the school. So thank you so much for hanging out for these insight videos, and I'll see you next time.